Hello there, people of the internet. I have been experimenting with different ways to make black powder, and my efforts are an attempt to see what actually works to make even serviceable black powder. Like, a lot of people out there, they try all sorts of different stuff whenever it comes to making black powder, and it normally boils down to them using like different kinds of charcoal and just seeing what charcoal works best. And a lot of people try to make the most effective black powder possible, and very few people are actually trying to see what would work with black powder. So whenever it comes to black powder, you have potassium nitrate, that's saltpeter, and then you have sulfur, and then you have some sort of carbon source. That carbon source works as a fuel as the black powder burns, and that's what makes it go whoosh. If you light just regular potassium nitrate on fire, it burns extraordinarily slowly. But you mixing a carbon source with it, and then you use sulfur as a bonding agent, and you get some rather impressive results with black powder. It literally just goes whoosh. So I've been experimenting with carbon sources, and there's people out there that experiment with carbon sources, but I have not found anyone who went out and made black powder with real coal. Like, legitimately dinosaurs dug out of the ground coal. I can't remember what this stuff is actually called. Something that starts with an A. Let me look it up real quick. This particular stuff, yeah, this is anthracite. I have no idea what that actually means because I do not deal with coal. But it is legitimate dinosaurs dug out of the ground, and I went ahead and I finally ground it into a nice fine powder, and then I mixed it 75, 15, 10% mix, very standard, common, stereotypical mix, and I ran it through my ball mill for about 48 hours, and my ball mill, it's got brass balls, brass media inside of it, and it works very well whenever I make actual proper black powder. So if this stuff doesn't work, I know it's because I'm using real coal and not charcoal, and I don't think it's going to work very well. Typically, whenever things work super well, you get a bunch of people that talk about it, and there's a reason why whenever it comes to the making of black powder, people just focus on using a kind of charcoal, because that seems to be the carbon source that works the best. And whenever you try basically anything else, it seems to not function very well. So I guess we're just gonna see how well this stuff actually works. Your guess is as good as mine. I have literally zero clue, but I'm willing to bet that it's not gonna be very good. I'm not sure what the percentage of carbon is in real coal, but I know it's rather high. I know it's around the same percentage as charcoal, so it might actually work, not great, but halfway decently. So we're gonna go ahead, take this out to my tactile washing machine, and we're going to flash it and see how well it flashes. This is a different bag from a different experiment, but it looks exactly like this. I have some ammunition loaded up with this real coal black powder, and we're going to take it out to the range and see how well it actually works. So these are 308 rounds that are loaded with black powder. I load black powder 308. I've shot it on this channel plenty of times. You guys can go watch that if you feel like doing that. But what this is this is 50 grains of the gunpowder, in this particular case my real coal black powder. 50 grains, and it's weighed out, not measured by volume, it's measured by weight, and that's because of powder density. So if you don't understand why I measured it by weight instead of by volume, it's because of powder density, and there's reasons for that. So with that 50 grains of weighed powder compressed inside a 308 case, I have a 130 grain bullet on top of it with some lubrication there. So I don't know how well these are gonna work. I don't know how well it's going to flash. I guess now let's just take it out to the garage, see how well it works, see if this stuff is even worth dragging to the range to check out. I went ahead and I loaded these black powder 308 rounds with Magnum primers to try and give it the best possible chance at setting itself off. Okay, well, let me go ahead and grab my tactical cast iron skillet here, which is this is my assault skillet actually. The things I've done with this particular skillet. That's not going on the internet. All right, let's go ahead and sprinkle just a little sample of gunpowder onto this bad boy, and that's way too much. All right, we're gonna go smoke out my garage, make it look like a Leonard Skinner concert. Come on, guys, let's go to the tactical washing machine. All right, tactical washing machine with the real coal black powder. I have zero clue how well this is going to work. You guys' guess is as good as mine. I'm betting it's not going to be great. That's not great. Oh boy. Oh boy, there it goes. It like bubbled over actually setting itself off. And boy, whenever it set itself off, it was super sparkly. You guys saw that. Glad I got nothing flammable in here. That's kind of why I do these experiments over here. Now I gotta wipe this off though, I'm sure. But there we go. That was not good. That is going to be not very effective. But, oh goodness, it sure is smoking here. But it did flash, so I guess it's worth taking out to the range to see how it's gonna do. Well, it's got like a red color to it. That is neat. That is very interesting. Alright, I gotta clean this washing machine before the girlfriend finds it, so I'm gonna do that, and then we'll pack up, head to the range, and see what this stuff does, I guess. To all the people that tell me to grow some backbone, I don't need to. I found some. Look, it's a spine. Nice. Looks like a hog spine. Black powder testing. This is the real coal black powder. I am not expecting this stuff to be very good. I have a chronograph out here, but it's a magnetospeed, and I'm betting that it's probably magnetized, or like a magnet-based chronograph, and these are lead bullets. So that seems to not work. So we're just gonna have to kind of gauge these, I guess. This is the last batch of powder that I'm doing on this particular day. I tried graphite powder, I tried firework black powder, activated charcoal powder, and my own homemade smokeless powder. Brought all those out here, had some fairly decent results with everything, definitely to the point to where I am pleased with my range trip, but I think that this particular stuff is just not gonna work. So this is a 75, 15, 10% mix. But instead of using charcoal, I used real coal. It's potassium nitrate, sulfur, and coal. I can't remember what the actual name is for the coal. It starts with an A. Andesite coal, I think. That sounds at least vaguely familiar. I'm sure I say it at some point within the video. So this is 50 grains of that powder, measured by weight because it's screened powder, and it's a different density, and that's why I measured it by weight and not by volume. And we got a 130 grain hard cast lead bullet, and I'm gonna bet that if this does fire, and I'm not even sure if this is gonna actually go off, if it does fire, it's probably not gonna be great. This is probably gonna be the worst black powder that I've ever made, and definitely the worst that I've brought out here today for testing purposes. So I got these loaded into 308 brass cases because I want to shoot these inside of a Mauser, because if things go horribly wrong and this powder ends up really sucking, then I want to go ahead and I just got a really good idea for my smokeless powder. I want to go ahead and have a barrel to where I can just knock on a squib load versus having to like pull out a round ball from a muzzle loader, which is a significantly more difficult process. So first things first, I took the chronograph off of my Mauser here, which I've been using to test basically all day. So I took the chronograph off because it's going to be useless. Let's just see if this stuff even goes bang. Let's see if it fires. I'm not expecting very good results here, but you never know. Let's just see what happens here. Also, this is a landfill, by the way. People keep complaining about this place. There's garbage everywhere because this is literally a landfill that I'm at. So let's fire. Oh wow, okay. That was not bad. That was way better than I was expecting.
judging by how the recoil feels and just what I'm used to with this rifle in my particular testing, I would guess that was moving probably about 1,200 or so feet per second. The graphite powder that we had was definitely significantly weaker than this coal powder. That coal powder actually felt halfway decent. If I were to make a real legitimate batch with this stuff, like go out of my way to make some proper black powder with this coal powder, assuming that it all is going to work like this, we might see some fairly decent velocities and some fairly decent results. So I'm going to go ahead and just load up 5 rounds here. Let's just yeet this, I guess. Yeah, man, it's going bang. Make sure my nose cap and all of these are still on and still aligned. It doesn't have a whole lot of power behind it. I'm going to shoot the dirt. I mean, yeah, it smacked the dirt and made everything go whoosh and whatnot. But, yeah, if I had to make a bet, I'd say this stuff is probably moving around 1,200 feet per second, which is way better than I was originally expecting this stuff to move. Because it's got a little bit of recoil behind it, but it's definitely far from a hard-hitting round. It definitely doesn't feel like I'm firing full power 308 or anything by any stretch of the imagination. But, dude, I'm blown away with the fact that this is working as well as it is. Hold on, I have some activated charcoal black powder rounds here, and these are moving at about 1,200 or so feet per second, and I know that because we chronographed it, which is one of the test videos that we made out here. The chamber on this is getting a little sticky, and we're going to see how well this stuff feels in comparison to the coal. Alright, yeah, that's about on par in terms of recoil and what it feels like. Whew, that is a toasty hot little piece of brass right there. Yeah, that feels almost identical to that coal black powder. So the coal is not great, but it's definitely not that bad. I gotta say, I was expecting worse, dude. Like, as far as the coal black powder goes, I was expecting worse with the graphite black powder too. Man, maybe you really can make black powder out of basically any kind of carbon source, because that's not awful. Now, I say not awful compared to what people are normally used to with shooting black powder. They're normally looking at like 1,700 or 1,800 feet per second. And compared to that, this is just god-awful. With this 50 grains and this 130 grain bullet, getting 1,200 feet per second, that's not great. But it is sending lead down range, so that's something at least. So then we went back to our coal black powder. That's what we're shooting here. No hang-ups, no hang fires, no duds, clearly no squib loads. I can see the rounds smacking things as I shoot them down there. And this black powder doesn't even smell all that bad, dude. Nice. This is actually a really nice little light recoiling, light shooting round. This is kind of nice, not gonna lie. Oh, come on, you. Kind of getting a little sticky. Babushka. Man, that was cool. I got a few more of these coal rounds left. Looks like 1, 2, 3. Got 4 of these bad boys left. So I definitely should have loaded these not with the lead bullets. I should have used some kind of metallic cartridge for chronograph purposes. But this feels almost identical to that activated charcoal powder. So 1,200 feet per second sounds pretty much right spot on where this stuff is going to be shooting at. I tell you what though, this rifle's getting hot. I've been shooting pretty much non-stop black powder with it. That one felt a little bit weaker. I saw the bullet hit down range though, so not quite a squib load. Bam! Yeah, that one smacked pretty good down there. I'm just kind of shooting at a piece of metal that's on the ground over there. I see it moving every time I hit it. Well, there we go. There's our real coal black powder. Wow, that worked amazingly well compared to what I was expecting. That was awesome, dude. That was awesome. You know, I got a few rounds of graphite powder here, And these rounds didn't really want to chamber earlier. There we go, that one chambered. So this is the graphite powder, completely different than the coal powder that we were just shooting. But I want to compare it. Oh, that is dramatically weaker. So the graphite powder is definitely the worst powder so far. All right, I got 2 more rounds of this graphite powder. They were sticking in the chamber earlier, so I did not shoot them during testing. But I got them here, and all the lube and whatnot seems to be helping break apart that crap inside the chamber. Yeah, dude, that is pathetically weak in comparison to everything else that we've been shooting. So, graphite powder, not great. Like, it feels like I'm shooting a 22. That's a 130 grain bullet, probably moving 800 to 1,000 feet per second if I just had to make a ballpark guess. I wish that I was smart enough to load up that chronograph, or load them up for that chronograph proper. But lessons learned. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. Now I gotta go figure out a way to clean my hands. I will see you guys on the next episode. I'm astonished at how well that worked. I was not expecting that to work that well, but there we go, and here we are. I'll see y'all later. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.